Welcome back to the Speak Your Piece podcast. My name is McNaughton, Big E. I haven't done this in a while, so it feels like forever since we've done a pod. But pleased to be joined by SYP creator Ravisher. Rav, what's going on? What's new with you, big guy?
I have lots of school homework. That's all I have. That's all I've been doing. Just homework.
What's your last day this semester?
April 17th is when my last paper is due. It's actually an interesting one. It comes right after my theory-based paper. So thankfully, my last paper is interesting. And then I have two finals that week too. So yeah, lots of fun. Or three.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've been busy with school. I think I got a few more weeks left as well. You know, just trying to, live, laugh, love in these conditions.
Man.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing some hockey talk. Rav and I are also going to do a 2017 NHL redraft later on in the episode. So stay tuned for that. We did 2014 and 2016, I believe, throughout the pandemic. You and I. 2017 is not a weird one, but like there are still players like in development. Like,
we definitely chose like I didn't want to do like 2019, 2020 just yet. I think that's I think 2017 is on the cusp of like, okay, we kind of understand what's the like cream of the crop here already. I think there's obviously players like I'll talk about them like towards the end of the podcast about some players that I think can like bring it up, especially the guys that are taken much higher. But yeah, it is a recent draft to look at though.
Big names in this draft class in the 2017 class include Dylan
Sandberg, Nolan Patrick,
Cale
Fleury, Ryan Poehling, and Christian Vesalainen.
So you don't want to leave after hearing all those names.
Speaking of, I think you want us to start off on the trade notes.
Yeah, let's talk about some trades. Let's talk about because the trade deadline was last week.
Obviously. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say we've had a week to kind of get used to and react to all these trades. Rav, did you have a favorite trade for the past week that you enjoyed that you liked?
I like the Giroux trade. I'm happy he got his 1,000th game in Philly and like got to celebrate that before he left and all that. I was gonna bring up like I thought German Rubtsov, he was in the trade for some reason. I thought he won the 2017 draft. It was 2016. But yeah, he was a first rounder, didn't work out. But he went along with a fifth and Connor Bunnaman and Giroux to Philly or to Florida, and Philly got Tippett first and a third. I like the trade for Philly just because I don't know if Claude Giroux re-signs there. Like I don't know what he obviously loves Philly, right? But like I don't know what his perspective on things. I don't know if he's one of the guys who's like, I don't know if he has the Dame Lillard mindset or if he has the like, I'm getting old. It's getting closer to my you're getting closer to the retirement phase. You gotta like you wonder like what his thought process is.
The meme where it's like some Winterhawks or not Winterhawks and get like WHL mind going. Some Trailblazers fan who's just like, God, why are you giving me your toughest battles? And it's God, like, how are you still alive? That could be classified as Giroux with Philadelphia. I like that deal for Florida because sure, why not get more scoring?
Yeah,
you can never have enough scoring. From like an actual smart trade, I like Minnesota getting Marc-Andre Fleury.
I like them getting Nick Deslauriers. Not gonna lie, that's another
Nick Deslauriers. So, well, that's like a different like category of like not meme, but like kind of funny trades that happen.
Kind of truddy, kind of funny, but like it's actually kind of good too because the guy will just put his body on the line at any moment.
He does not give a shit. He does not care. I don't know if I should classify this in the same category, but I laughed, I chuckled when I saw that the Nashville Predators gave up a second round pick. Jeremy Lauzon. That's hilarious.
That's some great play by GM Ron Francis, right? Yeah, yes. It's a good play from there. Pierre Maguire is employed by the Senators. That is funny. That is really funny. The Canucks got assets for Travis Hamonic with his contract and him. He got assets, which is insane. So I mean, good play by Alvin and Rutherford to get rid of him and then get Travis Dermott back.
Well, apparently, what I don't know if you saw this, but I heard.
I think I did. Yeah, is it
the draft picks about how like Vancouver wanted a fourth for Hamonic.
Yeah.
But Ottawa didn't have a fourth. But Ottawa had a fifth. They wanted to trade a fifth. But Vancouver said, no, we want a fourth. So then Ottawa's like, okay, fine. We'll give you a third. And it's just like
Pierre Maguire, dude. That's what happened.
It's like, okay, sure. Patrick Alvin, it's like, yeah, okay,
yeah, man,
we'll
sure, dude. Yeah, Hamonic's had issues in the locker room. Apparently, that's also another issue, and obviously, like the whole, his vaccine thing. And I mean, the guy was like, obviously, like fearful of his children. There's a lot of issues. Like I forgot what it was off the top of my head, but there's a lot of issues he had during the pandemic. So I always felt bad for him. But just like recently, I guess the players just got like had enough, which is fair. It's been a few years dealing with. I feel like what it feels like dealing with Hamonic. And it got to a point where like you had to trade him, and I think I heard Ottawa was probably the only team looking for Hamonic too.
The only team that showed interest in Travis Hamonic was allegedly the Ottawa Senators, but at the same time, I thought Hamonic wanted to be on the West Coast.
Yeah, but
so
at this point, I think he kind of lost. I mean, I feel like good players get that treatment of like, you get to play where you want to. Like if you're getting, dude, I'm sorry, like fuck all the relationships at that point, dude. If you're getting a third round pick for him, I'm trading him out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're going to Ottawa.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
But like, Ottawa is also not in a position to be sending assets for.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, yeah, fair play if it's like a team, like in the playoffs or like on the cusp, you need a gritty guy.
If it's Nashville sending a third for Travis Hamonic instead of like a second for Jeremy Lauzon.
I think Travis Hamonic is probably a better player on par with Jeremy Lauzon. At least Travis Hamonic has a big body, and I don't know, the guy has like some offensive awareness, whereas like Jeremy Lauzon kind of just stands there. I don't know why I hate him. I'm sorry. I gotta keep going.
So the Canucks, I don't think actually had a bad trade.
Yeah, we got deadline. The Hagel trade, I think, is a big one, by the way.
That Hagel, I mean, it's the cliche, like he's a guy who fits Tampa's, what they want to do in their model. And I mean,
thank God for shooting percentage, dude. Dude, Chicago, good to thank the Lord for shooting percentage.
If you're Chicago, you're not saying no to 2 first-round picks for Brandon Hagel. Like,
yeah, you get Radish and Strome and DeBrincat together, and then you get Kachuk as well. I mean, they haven't worked out in the NHL, but you're also starting off on a deep Tampa Bay team. It could be similar to like what Laff and Kakko are facing in New York, where you're just like, I guess you're on a deep like top 6. You don't really get the time, and you get coaches who don't play you in the top 6.
Yeah, and Chicago is just like, dudes, not only are you starting, you're gonna get ample ice time the rest of the season. Enjoy.
It's funny that Dylan Strome was getting scratched early in the season. Now he's like nearly point per game in his past 30 games, which is pretty. I mean, I think I don't know. Anyone knew that was going to come. I think
most reasonable people could have assumed that Dylan Strome would be getting a point per game, but like, sure, let's healthy scratch him.
I do like the Sherratt trade, by the way. Like, I feel like I know it's a lot for Sherratt, but you got to remember the playoffs. I know it's the cliche, like, oh, it's the playoffs, big guy, the penalties don't matter, but that's literally the case. That is the case with the playoffs. And so I think a big body like Ben Sherratt is viable, but if he doesn't play like he does, like he didn't run last year, it might be, if he played like he did today against the Leafs, maybe it's not worth the first, but I think that could work out. And Sherratt and Gudas, I don't know about that pairing. That's a scary pairing.
We stand Radko Gudas on
No,
this
I love him.
podcast.
I said today he had, besides the penalties, which I mean the refs are on one today, I think, but I mean they've been on one for a while. I think ever since the Chikrin overtime incident, like it's been insane. Like for every game of watch, there's been like 4 missed calls or 4 brutal calls.
And against the Leafs too, like there's actual statistical evidence of like penalties drawn per 60 or whatever with the Leafs, where it's like they are like 25th or lower in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
which is
I'm not surprised.
Which is hilarious. The Sherratt trade, yeah, I mean, it's fine. I get why you do it. Montreal's not going to say no to it.
Yeah.
Florida has to go all in this year.
I'm happy that the Rangers got some bottom 6 forwards, so Greg McKegg isn't down there playing like he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be there. I'm sorry. So they got guys there that can play with Kopp and Mott and Vetrano scored 2 today as well.
Mott Girl Summer will not be taking place in Vancouver. It'll now be in New York. Tyler Boss gone.
Tyler Boss is over. Raquel had a good game in that absolute beatdown of Detroit as well. the absolute beatdown of Detroit. Raquel sniped the 11th goal. This just makes it worse for me as a fan. I told this to my dad because even he made fun of it. He's like, I can't believe we could have scored 1 against them, but these fuckers got 11.
It feels like a minor miracle, the fact that I was in person for a Red Wings shutout against another team.
In a year where they let like 1 through 11 go.
Yeah, they've had games where they've given up goals of at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Not a joke. Absurd. And they haven't even fired their coach. They haven't fired their coach.
Jeff Goat shoulder. He's the goat. That's why.
My least favorite trade internally is probably the Troy Stetcher deal.
7th, yeah. That's that. I mean, I don't know about that.
At least they got something back for him, but at the same time, I like that he was a Red Wing. But at the same time, he gets to go to LA, likely take part in the playoffs with the Kings, be a replacement for Drew Doughty.
Yeah. What's a trade that I hate? I mean, I think the Lindholm trade's okay, but once you're signing him to 8 years, I don't know about that. We have to. That's like with him and Seth Jones, it's something to see. The cap, it's much less here, but it's still an 8-year contract, and I don't know how the salary cap's going to be a while, but like instantly signing guys to 8 years always feels like a really big risk.
It feels like a little bit of a desperate play from Boston.
Yeah, I think it's a big desperate play for Boston.
But I get why they do it. And again, it's the same thing of like, when you trade for somebody and you give a bunch of assets for them, you lose all your leverage, so you have to sign them to that big extension. Nathan Beaulieu got traded. I didn't realize he was still the Erica Branson of like just somebody throwing a draft pick for him.
Yeah, big. That's it. That's just big guy. I like the Johan Larsson trade to the Washington Capitals. I saw the one. I actually did agree with the Paul Bissonnette take where it's like everyone in the East is a contender except for Washington, just because like the trades that they made, especially the Marcus Johansson one. I don't understand. I understand that he's been in the system before, but I think Sprong's the better player. I think he scored today as well, or yesterday.
Well, with Sprong, now it gives the Seattle Kraken social media team the opportunity to use, Spring as Sprong, and it's just like, okay, but like, you guys are still worse than the Coyotes this year. No offense.
Yeah, I like the Domi trade too. Was it just because of what they gave up to Aiden Restchuk for Domi? I don't mind that.
Domi trade was really good because I feel like he'd be like, you get no defense with Max Domi, but he definitely seems like he's a forward that the Hurricanes will, use, and he will be a useful member in their system come playoff time.
I think they have some good defensive forwards. I think Kotkaniemi is probably one of their better ones as well, unironically, but he's been really good. My mind's obviously captain's good. My brain's farting. I was about to say Natchez, but he's not. He's one of the guys. Is he in your top 20? I would hope so.
Yes, Natchez is in my 2017 redraft top 20.
Yeah.
I want to throw out this. We talked about the Senators. I hate the Senators. I was an absolute sicko, not a sicko, but like more of a psycho. Because when there was March Madness games going on the other night and they were both on commercial, I watched some of the Ottawa Winnipeg game.
Why? Just for fun? Just because there's nothing else?
Nothing else. And Ottawa scored like 3 goals in like a matter of minutes. And it's like, well, okay. I didn't like from an actual trade standpoint, Nick Paul for Joseph in a fourth isn't a bad deal.
Yeah.
It's just Ottawa like draft. I'm pretty sure they not draft Nick Paul, or at least Nick Paul was like one of the guys who's like, yo, this dude, Nick Paul.
Yeah, Nick Paul, it was one of the guys that they who could I compare him to, man? It's just one of those guys that you like put through your system. I don't think they ever thought he was going to be their star player, even though it's someone that they put through the works. They wanted to get this guy to work out, and he did. And then you just trade him. I don't know who I'd compare it to. Kind of like Gaudette in a way, but not really, just because I don't think Gaudette really did work out. But he was, Paul was working out, I think.
Well, he was like, and for Ottawa, it was one of those guys that we're promoting this rebuild, and Paul was like one of those prospects. And it's like, hey, look at this guy, and now it's like actually we traded him for somebody else. But Matthew Joseph is fine too. He's a solid player.
Yeah, that's a good return and a fourth.
A fourth.
That's so a fourth they could have used to get Hamonic, but it's whatever.
Just saying. Is there any other deal that I really didn't like? I like Calle Yarncroke.
Yeah, Yarncroke and Toffoli. I think the Flames did really well in this trade deadline.
Flames are really good, as evident by their 9-5 win over Edmonton on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, Edmonton got Kulak. It didn't help because they have Nurse and Barry. So,
yeah, no, Edmonton got Kulak so they could give up 9 goals in the game to the Flames.
Is Kulak their best defensive defenseman like coming in at this point? I don't think like, I think he is, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think. Yeah, no, I know that you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
Best, and the guy, I mean, the last goal he scored for Montreal before he left was nuts. Like he just went through like 3 guys, and like just lit up their team. Yeah, he's a good player, and he's deceptively quick as well. And I don't think he got enough time in Montreal, surprisingly, considering their lineup this year. But yeah, I'm happy he got out of there.
So trade deadline was, I think the trade deadline was fine for most teams. Yeah. Like I don't know if I think everybody.
I don't think there's any big losers. I don't think were there. I think the teams that are big losers are those that didn't trade, probably, right? Like that's how it usually is. Vegas
might have been the biggest loser because they just look like dicks. But like outside of that, I don't think there's anybody who really really took an L. Ottawa might have taken the biggest L. Just because,
I mean, again, you do employ the 2 Pierres, Pierre Dorian and McGuire.
But that's just how their organization is.
Yeah. What can Ottawa, you do? That's just Ottawa.
Ottawa is just an F of an organization.
We can get onto the redraft now if you want to.
Well, I was gonna say, so the Red Wings lost 11-2 to the Penguins on Sunday. Listen, if you don't fire Jeff Blashill now, I think that's a lifetime gig for him.
It's a lifetime. They got to sign him to an extension, dude. At this point, they might as well 7 years. I don't know what the coach max is, but might as well just give him the coach max.
Give him the coach max. Maple Leafs beat the Panthers. The Maple Leafs are on pace to play Boston in the first round.
Yeah, good game by Mrazek too. That'll help his confidence. He had a really good game. I think the first goal, I didn't really see it. The angle I saw the goal from was kind of weird. But yeah, he had a good game. The Lomberg goal was a good shot by Lomberg. But yeah, besides that, he played really well through the stretch.
The Minnesota Wild beat the Avs today in overtime. Wild are looking all right.
Yeah,
kind of weird. It's kind of weird. We're like, I was big on the Blues, and now the Blues are going through a bit of a rough patch. But Minnesota's 8-1-1 in their last 10.
Yeah, Minnesota went on like they're a heater, and they didn't really go on a bad run. They just slowed it down. They went back on a heater again. They scored like 10 seconds into overtime because I think Fiala one time, remember. But yeah, Johnson took a bad penalty with 26 to go on. I think it was Tyson Jones, his old teammate. But yeah, he cross-checked them. 20 seconds left in the third, and dude, they hit the post with 1 second left. Like they could have won it in regulation too. Like they got really lucky they even got the point out of the game. But yeah, a shout out to Nate Dogg who beat the living crap out of Dumba. That was also a funny one too. I didn't expect that today.
Playoff races. The East is pretty much sealed up.
Yeah, there's no way. I think it's like probably less than 0.5% chance the Columbus Blue Jackets catch up to Washington
or Toronto. Certainly won't be the Red Wings.
Yeah, no
shit. The West is still pretty close.
It is close. I don't think the Canucks make it. Because I assume that's what you're going to ask me eventually here.
No, I was more probably going to talk about with Scott tomorrow, but I mean, it's very close between because Vancouver still has to jump over 3 teams to get the second wild card spot, or they get 4 points, but Edmonton has a game on them to get into the Pacific.
I mean, we'll see. I don't think the Canucks make it. I'll think it's a successful season if we get within 3 points. I think of the 3 or 4 points. I think that's you gotta understand the how bad we were at the start. I think our penalty kill has been, I don't think it's average yet. It's been I think it's a 20th to 17 to 20th range since Boudreau's came in. We're still last in the league just because of how bad. I think we were historically the worst team ever, since penalty killing has been recorded. So that just shows how bad it was. And I mean, on 5-on-5, we are one of the best. Good,
I think it's a Jay Fresh thing of the Canucks are one of the best 5-on-5 teams. One of if not the worst PK team.
Even with Green, that was the case too, though. That was the funny part. We were always good. I think it's just the case of the offense waking. I mean. A lot of our guys have woken up. I think Besser, the past 3-4 games have been much better. The game we went to, that's probably his worst game as a Canuck, to be honest with you. That was terrible. And even the next few, but ever since that game, I think he's really turned it on. He always plays well in Minnesota just because his family's from there and they're watching, but he played really well yesterday too.
I'm still rooting. Again, I'll talk about this with Scott tomorrow, but I'm rooting for Kyle Connor to hit 50 so I can get $10 from Scott.
I still think he can, dude. I mean, it's really just takes a heater, man. I hope he doesn't, just because I don't want the Jets to even be in this race.
No, I don't want the Jets to make the playoffs. I don't want that. I just want Kyle Connor to score 50 goals.
Oh, they got it.
He's on pace for 51 right now. Kyle Connor is single-handedly trying to put the Jets on his back.
Good. I mean, overtime win for them. Scheifele did get 2, and Nick Ritchie revenge. He's trying to show Dubas what's up now, probably.
He's trying to show Kyle Dubas he's trying to show Kyle Dubas that he should be on the team.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything about Nick Ritchie. I think Labushkin trades worked out too. I think Riley and Labushkin have been looking good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do 2017 NHL redraft. How about let's do it? You want to do this now?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Would you like the first pick, or should I have the first pick?
I think you take it. You take the first pick. It's a hard one, man. It's a really hard one.
Very hard. Don't know where I'm gonna go, but I guess if I have to pick somebody, I'll probably take Cale Makar first overall in the 2017 redraft. Cale Makar, who I was a little bit surprised when they took him originally, considering he played in.
Yeah, I think it's the league thing, right? Where he played, that was the main issue that came with him being drafted.
Yeah, I was oh wow, Colorado took this guy 4th from junior A Alberta. Okay. I guess that makes sense. And I don't think he's going to win the Norris this year.
Who do you think is going to win it? Yossi? Or
Yossi, I think, will probably, just because of the offensive numbers, Yossi's probably going to win it.
Yeah. I would hope he wins it, but Makar is going to win more. So like in his career than Yossi will, I think. Actually, because I think Makar could, like, that would be Yossi's second. I think Makar could get like 4 or 5 at this point, man.
Yeah, but I just think with Makar, dude is so good. This is gonna be a biased cliche, but like, I watch Olin Zellweger on a regular basis in Everett, and he's just everywhere.
Yeah, that's like Makar, isn't it?
That's Makar in the NHL, where it's just like he can, make every play on defense, he can make every play on offense, he can make every pass, make every breakout. He's just phenomenal. Kudos to Joe Sakic and the entire Avalanche organization for finding him and drafting him, because he will be, I don't think he is yet, but he will be the best defenseman in the NHL at some point here down the line.
Yeah, if you don't believe it now, it will just be a fact eventually at this point. Like the guy is elite, man, in every sense of the way. Like defensively, offensively, it's insane. He has like 25 or something this season. It's ridiculous. 24. Yeah. Sorry, he only has 24. Only 24. I think that's more than any Canuck right now. So, or actually, no, I think Horvat's above him. So there you go. Horvat and Miller probably.
So there you go. Cale Makar, first overall in our 2017 NHL Redraft. Rob, you have the second pick. Take the floor.
So number 2 originally. Well, number 1 was Nico Hischier. He'll probably be later on for us as well. Number 2 is Nolan Patrick. Knight right now, he's on the Knights. I mean, I think he's really just playing. He's playing like 11 minutes a night. He's not really getting much time. I hope it works out for him. I hope he gets like some form of NHL job. But yeah, that pick has not worked out at all for Philadelphia. And I don't think, it's just been a rough way.
It's the injuries too. Which
that's why I don't give it to him. It's not all his fault with what's been going on here. But I hope he like carves out a role for himself, even if it's on like 4th line or 3rd line role. Like the guy is skilled. It's just unfortunate with all the injuries that have packed up upon him for the past few years. Number 2 overall. I was almost thinking about putting Miro Heiskanen above Pettersson, but I didn't. I did go with Elias Pettersson at number 2.
Walk with Elias.
Yeah, always. I'm not trying to be biased here. Like I think this one it's probably an obvious one, but yeah. Calder winner 2019. The guy is just amazing to watch. Some night, I think at the start of the season, there's a bunch of the wrist and a bunch of the confidence with Green that was an issue. And I think over the past 2 months, he really got to see like how he actually is. He's at the top of his game. He's one of the best 2-way centers, I think, in the world. He's probably one of the best centers in the world when he's on top of his game. The face-offs are a bit, probably one of the face-offs and skating are probably his least best skill, I would say. But besides that, the guy has one of the best shots in the league. He's a great passer. Elite defensively. Last game, he scored 2 goals, both in the ways Pettersson. Every goal, if you think of a Pettersson goal, the goals he scored last night against the Stars are basically what he does: come down the wing, just snipe it, or the classic 1T. And he saved us with a stick check on Issa Lindell late. So I mean, when he's on top of his game, he's our best defensive forward, and there's not much else I can say about him, man. The guy is just elite.
With Petey, one of the best centers in the league, obviously. I kind of wonder if the COVID break, like in 2 years ago, if that doesn't happen, what his development is like.
Yeah, that's why I always was slow with him. Like people came up to me and, like, do you think is he even that good? Do you think? I'm like, yes, obviously. I don't understand how you can't think of a point per game guy in his first 2 years in the NHL is not good. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
He needs to be sent down to the AHL for some conditioning. Like, you gotta go play in Abbey for a couple games.
Yeah, I like that meme where like during the Red Wings game, the guy would make like some insane play, and it's like, yeah, look at this AHL star, dude.
Yeah, and and you know, I, you really like don't find guys like PD very often. Like it's a
That's why,
rarity.
yeah,
It's a
I was
rarity to
really.
find.
You go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say it's a rarity to find somebody of his talent, and his ability. So I get why you take him too.
Yeah. I mean, I was really happy when betting took him. I think a lot of fans, I mean, it's just one of the things that like you don't know about. Like, I think it's just like I guess a lot of fans always thought like, oh my god, another Swedish player. It should probably like you don't ever know if it's gonna work out or not. It worked out with Sedin's, but and it worked out with Pettersson. So I'm really happy that it worked out. It's probably Benning's best play as a Canuck. Let's be honest. His best move. But yeah, guys, like I think next year we'll really see how he will, like the next 2 years, just because he has to prove for himself, like for his contract, like whether like because he's worth more than $8 million when he's on top of his game, and I think next year will show it. And I mean, the past 2 months he's been, I think, on like probably a 70 to 80 point pace, even considering he had another small setback recently, like with his wrist, or they called upper body injury, but everyone assumed it was the wrist again. But so he took a break for a few games, but yeah, I think once he's 100% again, like whenever he's 100%, the guy's lethal, man. It's really fun to watch him play. I'm happy that the Canucks selected him, and that's why I have him going up 3 spots to number 2.
The worst thing I think, and this isn't totally his fault, the worst thing about Petey is his Capilano Audi commercials.
Oh, I forgot the saying he said in that. I forgot what he said. There's a funny clip of him with that commercial. I like my favorite Pettersson clip is when he was streaming. Used to stream during the pandemic. I remember he just there's this clip in Warzone where he kills someone. He's just like, "Suck it, bitch." That's my favorite one.
So that would be my one drawback about PD is the awkward Capilano Audi commercials. Number 3, this would have been the Dallas Stars. So
like Miro Heiskanen.
Yeah, so with Miro Heiskanen, so it's kind of a wash. You know, I don't know if he's quite, maybe it's because I don't watch him enough, and maybe it's because he doesn't get enough national attention. I don't know if he's on the level of like Hughes and Makar, but like he's pretty damn close.
I would, man, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
His skating's probably up there with Hughes and Makar. He's probably better than Makar or Makar Hughes. Honestly, just because the weight he carries around, Hughes is a much smaller frame, and Heiskanen's this much bigger guy who can skate around like a fucking ballerina. It's amazing watching him play. It's unfortunate he's injured for the rest of the season, but yeah, that guy's a lethal skater, elite skater.
Well, and the other thing what's going to be interesting is where Dallas goes as an organization, because there's another guy on this list that we'll talk about later on.
Yeah,
maybe next pick, even if you're ambitious. But
okay, I'm not gonna Demko him again. I'm not gonna do the Demko number 2 with Jake Ottinger. But
with that, it's just I'm curious to see where Dallas goes as an organization. I like Miro Heiskanen, one of the best defenders. He's somebody you can build around. You can set it and forget about it. You don't have to worry about Miro on defense. Obviously, the health is a bit of a concern. Like you said, he's missing the rest of the year. Silky smooth defensively. Always just seems to be in the right place at the right time. Makes plays offensively. If they can, if they decide that they're going to tear down and they're going to try and sell,
yeah, there's just a lot of the contracts on that team are, I don't know if they're sellable, like the Sagan one, the Ben one.
Yeah.
Those are 2 big ones. Like, how do you even sell a Tyler Sagan at this point? Like, how do you sell Jamie Benn if you want to even sell? I think that, I don't know, you probably just have to run at least the Ben one out. I don't know how you get rid of Sagan. There might be a like a Suter Parise buyout where you have to just deal with it, or you just deal with the player himself, just keep him, like, because I don't think Sagan's probably like, I don't know. You got to just hope he turns it around, because it's not looking good for them with the contracts they have, especially, I don't know, is Hudobin up at the end of the year? If that's one that's off the books, maybe.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a bit of relief.
Hudobin and Bishop, I believe.
Yeah, but you have to sign. I mean, probably the next pick here. You probably have to sign him too. So
yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going with it. But with Heiskanen, he is the third best player in this draft class. Like yeah. I don't think there's any doubt.
I think the top three there is probably solidified, but there's probably guys that could take over for sure. But those top three are like players that we know have been elite for more than a year at this point.
Yeah, yes, that I would agree with that. So Heiskanen, number 3 to Dallas. Rav, who do you have going number 4?
Sorry, completely got number 4. Who even was it? It was number 4 was McCarr. We talked about him. Number 1, we think. Mm-hmm. Number 4, I had the Avalanche selecting Jason Robertson.
Okay.
So I think obviously we had 2 there that you could have selected. Probably it's probably Robertson or Suzuki. I went with Robertson just because I don't know, he's been on something else this year. Like last year, I think we all saw like, okay, there's a bunch of injured guys. You bring him up in the lineup, and this guy works out. Maybe it's like he's playing with Rupe Hintz or something. He's playing with these guys, get a bit of luck. But yeah, this year he's just been driving that team, man. He's like a big reason why they're even in the playoff race this year, I would say.
It's funny with Robertson where, really good year last year.
Number 2.
Pardon?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. It like cut off.
Really, really good year last year. Again, he's one of those guys with Dallas, like depending on where the organization goes, like you can build around him, Heiskanen, Ottinger, and you still have a decent core. I would love to see him on something like Colorado right now, just because they totally they totally need wingers.
I just like in my head, I'm just like realistically, if Colorado knew the outcomes, they'd probably go with. I think that you'd go with Suzuki, you get the better defensive player. But I'm just like, dude, Jason Robertson, this guy's so sick. Just like making a good team even better. He has 60? Yeah, 60 points in 56 games this year. There's a point. I think he had 2 hat tricks back to back, right? Like absolutely amazing. Nick Robertson, his brother as well for the Leafs. Mm-hmm. He's been good. He's been good in the stints up there. He scored against. Who did he score? Did he score against the Canucks? I think he did score against the Canucks.
I think you're right.
Great winger, big guy too, 6'3", 200. You always I don't know if you expect that from him, but yeah, the guy's big guy. He could score. He's probably their best forward. Like right now, him and Rupe Hintz are probably their best players. Besides Heiskanen. Wonder what but back to the point, just like you got to re-sign this guy. Wonder what he wants. Does Klingberg have to leave now because you want to sign Robertson, and you just run with Heiskanen and then Lindell? It's like there's a lot of questions that the front office has in Dallas right now.
And you're spending like almost like $20 million a year on Sagan.
They're never gonna. I don't think they'll ever live that one down. The Sagan contract wasn't even like one of those ones like, hey, they did it like 5 years ago. Like, that was like the recent they signed him to that big contract too. So it's like, I don't know. I didn't really understand that at all. But yeah, Jason Robertson's also a guy I'm pretty sure he can play the center, but he's just been wing exclusively this year. Jason Robertson, number 4. I think he's the 4th best player from this draft class. I think he's better than Suzuki. Suzuki's much better defensively, probably than even Pettersson and Robertson. But yeah, Robertson for me is number 4.
So I don't mind that.
Did you have Suzuki number 4?
No, I didn't actually. I had Robertson 4.
Okay.
My 5th pick, I will go with Nick Suzuki. It was kind of, I don't know, I had a bit of a toss between like him and Hischier.
Yeah, no, same, dude. I don't know. I don't know what even took. I think it was just the defensive play. I think my thought process was like Vancouver Canucks. Right now, do we want another scoring center? And also, again, it was also, do we have another left-handed center? And I'm like, okay, because we have like no right-handed center. So I'm like, okay, Suzuki, perfect, number 5.
Well, and like the other thing with Suzuki Hischier is that I think there's a bit of a perception with Hischier because the Devils aren't good. That means that Hischier isn't good.
That's not the case, especially this year too.
Well, and like the only good player on the Devils is Jack Hughes.
Yeah, that's the main one. Jack Hughes, Dougie.
Yeah. Probably. And then there's a bunch of other busts like Nico Hischier, a bust.
Yeah. Jesper Bratt.
Jesper Bratt.
Like leading scorer.
Mackenzie Blackwood. Bust.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go with Nick Suzuki, number 5 to Vancouver. With Suzuki, I've always liked him. I'm still not. I don't know, with the throwing him in the Pacioretty deal where like Vegas could have like just kept Suzuki, have a real center, not having to trade for Eichel, and still use Suzuki on his ELC for as long as they could.
Yeah. That would help the cap issues they have right now where Mark Stone, I don't know if Mark Stone can even play, and that sucks because I have him on fantasy and I need him for the playoffs. So it's a bit rough, but yeah, I don't know if Mark Stone. I think they got Martinez back. I think he was fine with, but yeah, I don't know how you get Mark Stone back, especially with the Dadonov incident and how that's worked out for them so far. I hope it doesn't keep working out because the Canucks make the playoffs, but yeah, I don't know how his career like shapes up because I don't know anything obviously Vegas is such a new team. We don't know much about their development at all. And like how would Suzuki have developed in their system rather than Montreal's.
And Suzuki, again, maybe because he's a Montreal player, but it's like, kind of reminds me of Philip Deneau a little bit and how he plays.
He does. But I think, he's
a better Philip Deneau. Like he's a better player than Philip.
Yeah, Deneau. Philip Deneau doesn't score. Nick Suzuki does. And it is a lot on the power play, to be honest with him. Like 5-on-5, I think he had like 20 something points, like 5-on-5. So like it's much lower, but I think that's something you develop, right? Like you could, especially if you already have the power play side, I think you can definitely like develop the 5-on-5 side. And playing with Caulfield now and the way he's been playing, I think that'll help him as well. And hopefully he gets like another winger to play with, hoping for the next 8 years, hoping like Caulfield, Suzuki are like the main guys up front for him.
Which is funny because Vegas drafted 6 in this draft. They took Cody Glass.
Yeah. That also hasn't worked out. Where is he? I think is he on what do you call it?
Nashville now.
Nashville, yeah.
He was in the Ryan Ellis deal.
Yeah, because they did that like what do you call it? Scenery swap, I call them. They trade the guy. They did that where they just trade the guy like, I'll probably go be better there, and this guy will be better here. And it works out for like some players like Sam Bennett. It worked out. Oh,
Sam Bennett, it's absolutely worked out. Like,
yeah, I always loved that trade. I even when it happened, I'm like, yeah, like I think anyone who watched Sam Bennett play, especially in the playoffs, knew that the guy was good. I didn't know he'd be that good, but I knew he'd be much better in a better position. And Florida's worked out a lot for both sides.
But getting back to Suzuki, I think he's still the same player in Vancouver that he would be in Montreal. Like, I don't think anything that's like gone on in Montreal outside of their fluke Stanley Cup run is all that different from what the Canucks have gone through in the last 5 years.
Yeah. I'm happy he got that experience too. Hopefully that's just a great thing to have, just have that playoff experience. I know it's probably weird just because you go home and you're playing against you're playing in front of nobody, then you go to Tampa and you just got this full house. But just having that experience for those guys, especially like Suzuki, I think that's helpful for Montreal. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some positives for Montreal right now, just because the way it's going.
There isn't any you don't have to give them positives. Yeah. There aren't any positives right now.
You're hoping the goalie situation works out too.
The other thing I wanted to say about Suzuki is that he definitely gives me like captain leadership vibes. Like he definitely seems like a cool, level-headed guy in the locker room.
I would hope he would probably get the captain once the whole Weber situation's dealt with.
Yeah. So that's Nick Suzuki 5th going to Vancouver in this redraft.
Speaking of captains, number 6, I don't have Cody Glass going there. I don't have him on my top 20 actually. I would hope for you too. I have the Devils captain Nico Hischier going at number 6. Dropping down 5 spots from number 1 where he originally went. Swiss center, probably their best center. So like him and Hischer, or him and Yossi, sorry, are the best Swiss players right now. Meyer as well, I'd put in there. Probably Meyer above Hischer at this point, the way he's been scoring this year. But yeah, he's been great this year. This has probably been his best season since his rookie campaign. What is it, 47 and 56 this year? I don't know. It's just been like,
I remember thinking like into like when this draft class was taking place, it's like, oh, if Nico Hischier and Nolan Patrick are the top 2 picks, it's probably not going to be that great of a draft class.
Right. That's what. I think Nico Hischier is the Owen Power pick of that draft, where it's like it's the guy that's like guaranteed to like, he'll be fine. Like he'll be an NHL caliber player.
Yeah.
That's what I think, like, because obviously like there's guys in the last draft where it's like, these guys have such a big ceiling, but Owen Power is the guy who's like probably the most like likely to fit in the NHL. And that's what I think the case with Nico Hischier was. And that was always the case when he came in, because he got 52 in his first 82 game season. And the guy looked really good. And it just didn't work out for the next few years. I mean, the Devils weren't really working out.
The Devils weren't really good. Nico was injured more or less like during that time.
Yeah. But also I think his teammates have definitely improved. I think Jack Hughes has turned it up. Jesper Bratt's been a really big addition, like him playing good. And there's a lot of guys there, like Yegor Sharangovich. He's been playing good, and like Johnson. I could go on. Like, considering the Devils have a lot of issues and they're that bad, they have a lot of good players on that team. It is really weird to see. I don't know.
I think is their head coach still Lindy Ruff? I think that's part of their. Maybe that might be it.
But yeah, for a team that isn't really in a good position right now, they do have a lot of young talent. And Nico, I'm happy they named him captain. I think a lot of people saw him being named as captain as like a weird thing, just because of like, he hasn't shown anything to be like, I don't think he's shown anything publicly like he's a great player. Like, he's like always a good player, right? But he's nothing like, I don't know how to. He kind of reminds me of Bo Horvat in a way, a lot like Bo Horvat, like the way like they kind of, I don't know, like Bo Horvat.
Well, it's kind of like what we have. I was gonna say, it's like we don't really have anybody else to give it to. That's the vibe. It's like somebody who's not a Devils fan. It's like, well, they had no one else to give it to.
That's
so here you go.
That was kind of what I thought with the Canucks as well. There's obviously like people who said give it to Pettersson. I don't know if he exemplified leadership at the time. You also don't want to start giving every 20-year-old. I think the Canucks aren't a franchise to start giving 20-year-olds captaincy as well. That's just not how the Canucks work. But yeah, I'm happy he got the captaincy, and he's been rolling with it, man. He's been really good. I hope nothing for the best for him, but yeah, the guy's been really good this year. His faceoffs have taken a much better improvement as well. I mean, everything looks good, even analytically. The guy's stepped it up in the past few years. So yeah, I have Nico Hischier number 6. I think I hope you do as well, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I'd like to
5,
see him
6.
I'd like to see him in a playoff run too. Like get a
playoff. He's only had like, I think he's only had the one playoff run in the Taylor Hall season. In that season, and yeah, just the 1 point. But yeah, I hope he gets some experience too. You don't want to. I hate when players like that good have to like wait till the 28, 29 to get playoff. Like Jack Eichel, like, and I don't think he might not even get it this year, right? Like, it's unfortunate, but yeah.
When they have to play when they have to play on a shit team like the Devils for like until they can get through, like get out of their RFA years.
Yeah, that's really rough for them. I mean, I think Hischier's probably in the long run for them, just because I mean, you take the guy first overall and you name him captain, right? So he's probably in the long run for them, and hopefully it works out for them. But yeah, Nico Hischier, I'm happy that later. I don't know if he's a later bloomer, just because he's always really like he was always a good player from the start, but really turning into like what I think people expected him to be like recently.
I like that pick. I'm gonna go number 7 here. This was originally Elias Anderson.
Yeah, I don't know if you can talk about that one. I'm over the place. I think he's in King's system now. Yeah,
I think so. I'm not taking Elias Anderson. I'm gonna go with Robert Thomas.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like, again, kind of like the Blues, and part of it is because I kind of like Robert Thomas and who he is as a player. Yeah. He seems like somebody who's really good, like really meant to play in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, he was great in that run as well.
Yeah, with the Blues, London Knights like he used to play for London. Um,
He's on a great contract right now too. I don't
he's
know
on
when
a
that's up.
he's on a great contract. He's not afraid to throw the ball. He's like it's kind of a nice how would I put this? Kind of like a nice opposite type of player to like Jordan Kyrou. Where like Jordan
Yeah,
Kyrou is like one of the fastest players, great skater. Thomas is like will not be afraid to throw the body. He'll play physical, still can shoot, still can make
yeah.
plays.
Only the 12 goals is deceptive. Like you don't really understand how good the guy is, like with only the 12 goals. But I think he's a great passer, man. Like he's been really good this season.
And yeah, like
I mean,
I just
especially the sorry, go ahead.
I just think it's a really he's got a really good situation in St. Louis with the Blues
Yeah.
that they probably bring out the best of him. And being able to play under Craig Berube, I think really brings out the best in him. I don't know how it would be with him with the Rain. He might be a fan favorite if he was a Ranger, if he took over Elias Anderson, but he wouldn't have that playoff run in 2019.
Yeah.
And like
I think
he's
that
definitely
experience definitely helped him as well, man. Like that
for sure.
really, yeah, really helped him put him into like. I think that's what also like helped the management. Like I don't know, maybe he wasn't in the plans, but like now, like when we have a big run like that, and I mean, he essentially scored that goal that Maroon scored because he hit the post and it was just sitting there, and it was just for someone to hit it into the net. Like he played amazing in that whole run, especially in that game too. But yeah, I mean that playoff run helped him and the management like realize what he was. I would think.
Well, like him and Kyrou, who like both weren't at their peak at that time. Like they were still like developing
Yeah,
as players, and like now they're like really. I don't know if they're hitting their peak now, but they're definitely hitting a stride. That's like I if I was an NHL GM, I'd probably trade for Robert Thomas and probably Kyrou, but Robert Thomas for sure at least once in my career. Where like Thomas, I would definitely want to like throw him on like a middle six line and try and have him in a playoff run.
yeah. That's a perfect middle six guy, I would say. Like,
And that's kind of where we are at this point in the redraft is like middle six guys who can really,
yeah, you
help
could
you on
argue
playoff.
Robert Thomas. Like, I mean, I think you could argue Robert Thomas has always been this good because I think everyone who's played with Robert Thomas has always talked about how, like, I think Maroon even has talked about him before. Like, yeah, this guy's gonna be great like one day, and like obviously like now he's been so good. But the time on ice recently, I think he's gotten like a 4 to 5 minute boost just from last year alone. Yeah, he's got a 5.5 minute boost just from last year alone, just the ice time as well. Just him being bumped up in the lineup and getting to play with like better players now. You obviously got Buchnevich in the offseason and
Oh
Tarasenko's
yeah.
back as well. Like you got players like this, and then Kyrou steps it up. Really, I didn't expect St. Louis to like turn out this way. I think at the start of last offseason, but then obviously like the moves and then Kyrou coming in being as good as he is has definitely worked out for him.
So that's my pick, number 7, Robert Thomas, who would go to the Rangers then. Rav, you have the 8th pick, which would have been Buffalo and Casey Middlestat.
Yeah, I think everyone thought Casey Middlestat was going to be good, especially in that World Juniors run he had. Like everyone thought it was going to work out. It didn't. Now he's getting some ice time now, and he's playing decent considering how bad that team is in Buffalo. That bad team that beat the Canucks 3-2 in overtime. Um, number
I, I,
7. What are you say?
I was gonna say I remember I think it was last year where I said like I don't know if anybody cares, but I still have stock in Casey
Yeah.
Middleton.
I have his hockey card somewhere. I think I just gave it to my sister. She has like this big collection of shit with hockey cards. Um, number 7, I had this guy. Just number 7, Nate switch for me. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, number 8 now. Guy went in the 4th round. He born in America, but he played for Team Canada again in the World Juniors, and he had a great turn. That's where I first really saw him turn out. Center for the Ottawa Senators. It's Drake Batherson.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the guy I have number 8. That could also be like Is that a hot take from you? Do you think that's a hot take?
It's a little bit of a hot take. It's a little bit higher than what I had him going as, but
Yeah.
But explain why. I want to hear why.
It might be the bias though. But yeah, man, I don't know. The start of the season, the guy was on a heater. He was scoring goals, just making great plays, and he came back yesterday and he had a good game against Ottawa, like his first game in 2 months, and against Florida, sorry. And considering the circumstances and like being your first game back, I think he had an assist, and he looked the same like how he was like before. He's just been looking. I don't know how to explain. Considering the team he has to play around, I guess Josh Norris, who's another guy who will probably be in here too. He's been playing good as well. There's I don't know. I'm trying to. I always think of like comparisons, and I can't think of one for Bath. He kind of reminds me of, what do you have for him? I can't really think. I really think of a comparison because that's like the best way I can.
I like Batherson as a player. He's one of those guys who I wish was just on a better team. Like I feel like
that's another thing. I think he doesn't really get the respect he deserves just because that's why I went with him, because I feel like I don't think people understand how good he is just because like whenever I watch Ottawa play, he's really the guy driving play. I would say, I don't think Norris really drives the play as much. Like he's a great player, but I think Batherson drives the play at a much better level. I think Timmy does as well. Like Stützle does as well, but it's just, I mean, it's his second year and like there's a lot of mistakes the guy makes, but like, yeah, I think Drake Batherson is an elite offensive talent when he's on top of his game.
Like if he was playing for anybody but Ottawa, I like, because Ottawa just has no sense of direction and has no idea what they're doing as a franchise. But if Batherson was on, like, I don't know, Pittsburgh or something, like,
that would work out well. He had such good years in the AHL. I think when he came up for the first time, I thought like, oh, I hope this guy works out. And like, he had a decent year last year, considering like how bad the circumstances were, where like you're the worst team and you only get to play against like the 7 teams. He had 34 points in 56 games. And what was his shooting percentage? I can't find a shooting percentage, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of low. And then this year he came in on a heater, unfortunately got injured. And I think that's what kind of slowed down the Ottawa Senators from like becoming like a middle pack team. And now they're kind of at the bottom, and like Shabbat's out for the year, and you're kind of just like, you're kind of in it to just like whatever. But yeah, man, I think when Batherson is healthy, he's one of the most underrated offensive talents in the league, I would say. Like there's very few players that I would call underrated that are over a point per game. And I think Batherson is one of them. It's also one just because of the place he plays in, but it's also just like, I don't think people understand how good he is just because of the place he plays in. Like it's weird. He can drive. Like, I think it's kind of like, I remember when Edmonton tried to split up, like there's a point where they try to split up McDavid, Draisaitl, and then have Jesse Puljujarvi on the third line. And the coach said, I put Puljujarvi on the third line because that's a guy who can drive a line. And it didn't really work out there. But Batherson's a guy who can drive a line. You can put him lower in the lineup. I don't know why you would, because he's probably your best forward, like offensively, maybe like him and Kachuk. But I think Batherson, I think Batherson's a much better player than Norris right now. I don't know, maybe that's a hot take from.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from. And I think there's also, not that this is the reason why you would take him, but I think there's also something to be said for like, you just want guys who did well on Canada, the World Juniors to just.
Yeah. Well. I mean, there's a bit of bias there just because I always supported him from that. And I mean, he was born in America, but I think he lived in Canada his whole life. I'm pretty sure is what the story is. So, I mean, I that's probably the bias where like it comes in. But yeah, man, when he's on top of his game, I believe the guy like to be a point per game on that team right now, I think is something that shouldn't be overlooked. Like regardless of, it might be a bit of luck here and there, but like the guy, he drives play at like elite level sometimes, man. The guy, like he's a deceptively good passer, I would say as well. He has a good shot too. He had 2 opportunities to score in overtime yesterday. Bob robbed him on one as well. He could have had a goal in his first game back. He could have had a nice 2-point night, but yeah.
So I like that pick a little bit higher, but I'm glad you put him in the top 10. I'm glad you have him in the top 10.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way I was going to take Batherson. Now I had him at 7, actually. I had him over Thomas. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. All right.
I that's like, maybe it's because I'm like you with the middle stat thing. I just always had stock in this guy, and thankfully it did work out for me.
Also a good Instagram follow, Drake Batherson.
Yeah.
Ninth pick. Who picked ninth in this draft? Do we know?
It was your team, and they picked. Oh, you're not okay.
Okay.
It's the big guy.
Big guy, Michael Rasmussen. I have going ninth. I have Martin Necas.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Kind of a weird. Weird is maybe not the right word. Talented player.
You can when you watch him play, you see how talented he really is. He's a really good skater, and he can pass very well as well.
That's kind of it. He's part of what makes Carolina so good. He's part of what makes Carolina so good from like top to bottom. He's right now on the second line with Trocheck and Svechnikov, which, like that's a really fucking good line.
Yeah.
And part of it is just because the Necas is just, he can pass. He can also shoot. He can also finish. Like all around good player. Some people might criticize me for having him below Robert Thomas.
I wouldn't. I don't think that's a fair criticism. Just because I think Robert Thomas has shown that he's been good for a long time, whereas Nate it was kind of just last year where he really turned it up, and this year it's obviously gone down a bit. But it's also you add on so many pieces that take off the load from him. And like obviously Tony's one, and then you're adding Max Domi. Niederreiter stepped it up again, and then you add Kotkaniemi into the mix. There's a lot of guys that are joining the team, and he's getting similar ice time to last year. But if you're looking at the points, you obviously see, oh my god, this guy's out of it. But like the same thing with Pettersson as well. It could just be like a slow start. He's turned it up recently as well. Like the past few games, he's been good.
Well, and even if Carolina wants to go with their big line, like the heavy line of like Teravainen, Aho, and Svechnikov, you still have like Necas, Trocheck, and Seth Jarvis.
Seth Jarvis is a good one too. That's a really good pick.
Yeah, like there's like another like really good quality line. It's like a chicken and the egg type thing of like, is Carolina as good as they are because of Necas, or is Necas as good as he is because of Carolina? And it's like, I think it's a bit of both. I think they both work hand in hand together to, be one of the best second lines in the NHL. And it was a bit of a savvy move when they traded for Trocheck as well to help alleviate some of that pressure for Necas.
I really like that trade. I have him on my fantasy again, so I'm more biased there. But like he's just been a good player for them. It's been, and always like the what do you call it, comparison that Marchand did. You're a Prius, I'm a Lambo. Then you end up losing to them, like, I think pretty badly. So Trocheck's on top there, and I think Trocheck, like in his career, has similar stats to Brad Marchand, which is pretty funny. Like in his first 500 games.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with I'm going to go with Necas. I think he should be in the top 10 in this draft. I think he's skilled enough to do so, but that's my take. And if he goes to Detroit,
where did that come from? Where did that one come from? Oh, like in there. Okay, I was like, dude, this is some trade room I didn't hear.
No. Like if he went like ninth, if they took him instead of Rasmussen.
He's probably a guy who would fit in, probably where Raymond is right now.
Yeah,
probably. Because he's much more of a winger. I know he can play center, but he's a winger at this point. He's kind of like the same thing with Robertson. He is a winger at this point. Whereas Pettersson's kind of a mix.
You probably want him playing wing, and like, but then again, this is the same organization that's like, well, we don't know what to do with Philip Zadina. So
obviously, what was his goals for percentage today? I think it was 7%, which is insanely low.
Yeah,
it was a kid. To be fair, they did allow 11 goals, so everyone's going to be low. But yeah, when Levy's leading your team in goals for, it's not really the.
So, anyways, I guess my point is that Necas, really good winger. I view him more of as a winger. Should be in the top 10 in this redraft. Quality player. Somebody who I could see being a Hurricane for a while.
Yeah.
Who do you have 10?
10 overall down here. 10th overall is Owen Tippett, and obviously talked about how he got traded to the Flyers. I'm hoping it works out for him. It just hasn't worked out in Florida. I mean, it also, again, it's a thing of like when you're on a stacked team, you're not gonna get the playing time you need. But he hasn't really shown, like, whereas like Kako and like Lafreniere have shown that they're good. Owen Tippett, I don't know if he's really shown that in 100 near. I think he's 98 games, 34 points, minus 12. I hope it just works out in Philly. I think he'll get more playing time there, and hopefully that works out. But yeah, that's a guy I always wanted to work at. I think I always looked at him as like a really good blue chip prospect. But okay, this one I think is a bigger hot take than Batherson. Oh, do I go with him though? There's two guys. It's Norris and another guy. Another guy is do I go with him, man? I'm gonna go with Jeremy Swayman.
There we go. Yeah,
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
If you weren't gonna take him, I was.
I'm gonna do it. Jeremy Swayman, number 10, to Florida. Only 41 games in the NHL, so obviously I'm taking a big risk here if I'm a GM like drafting out. Yeah, 41 games, 1.94 goals against, 930 save percentage. This year is a 925, and I'm pretty sure. Let me pull it up. Top 10 in goals saved above expected. Number 10, 12.8. He's above Demko, Huso, Markstrom, Sorokin, Leonard, Ront. I can go on. 31 games this year, 19-8-3. I think it's helped. Allmark hasn't, I want to say Allmark struggled, but he hasn't been what I think Boston's wanted, where Boston's probably wanted him as a starter.
Yeah,
but it's worked out because Swayman's came in.
I was gonna say they paid him that money and they gave him that contract to make Linus Ullmark the starter.
Yeah, and it hasn't worked out. I wonder how that works. Maybe you probably. I think Allmark's turned it back around a bit recently. But I wonder how that's going to work out in the future, just because you have him to that contract, and obviously they have such a good relationship with the hugs they do at the end of each game, and that's pretty cool. I like that. It's insane that he even played in the AHL this year. Like considering, I think he's actually not even that good in the AHL. I think he had like a 900, but like yeah, I think he's been elite. He's been like he's had a lot of elite games, but he's also been he just seems like a veteran goalie at times. Like the way he plays, I don't know. He's I don't know what the word is. Calm. I don't know. He seems calm. Like I don't know. He's just like what it compared to like Mrazek, who's a guy who like go left, right,
yeah,
like
it's
jumping around.
Mrazek is like
even Mrazek and Demko are kind of like whereas Demko probably does him a bit better, but like they're guys that are like I don't know what the word antsy. There's a word for it. I can't think of it.
Yeah, I know antsy's the right word for Mrazek, where Mrazek's just like all over the place. Mrazek is just so he's a wild thing.
Yeah, and that's why I think of Demko as well, because you'll get the random pad stack. You don't expect it. Where Swayman, he has great positioning. I don't know. It's obviously a weird pick just because of the low amount of games he's played. And like, I don't know if him and like Andre. I don't know if Andre. I think Andre's had much more games now than Swayman has. So like, obviously, I think Swayman has. I think Swayman has more potential than Ottinger does. Just I don't know. I don't think because I consider Boston's defense not to be that good. Like especially, I mean, now they got the upgrade in Lindholm, McAvoy, that pairing, but I feel like after that it kind of dies off. And I feel like Swayman's done a lot to help them win some games that they've needed to win. And I mean, it shows in his goal saved above expected, his save percentage over the past 40 games. I don't know if he got Calder votes last year. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth voting for a guy who played 10 games, but like he could have. He was amazing last year.
Yeah, I like Swayman. Listen, if you weren't gonna pick him, I was gonna take him with the next pick.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, goals saved above average, 14 goals saved above. I think it's the exact same, but yeah, adjusted goals against average, he's third. It's every stat. The guy is top 10 right now, and I know it's only been 30 games, and so we always have to wait till he gets a much bigger sample size, presumably next year. Or in the playoffs, actually, that might be one. Who you go with in the playoffs? Yeah, it is because yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you go with you. I'm assuming you go with Swayman in the playoffs, right?
Like, I think you do. I think you do. I think you have to.
I know. I hope they don't. They have like. I assume the Leafs will go with Campbell in the playoffs, kind of thing, right? Like you assume like consider, like it's kind of like you. I don't know. That's different in this case. Whereas like Campbell, I don't know. Is that different? That's a whole different scenario because you got two bad.
I think you have to start like the
two average ones.
You have to start the guy who like gives you the most confidence or like has like the better statistical
Yeah, and
That makes sense.
that's been him this year for
Yeah.
100%.
Tuukka Rask isn't coming back.
Yeah, Tuukka. I was hoping it worked, but it didn't at all. Like he probably could have made it work if he tried a bit harder. Probably like if you gave it a bit longer. Like it's you know you just came off a big injury and you're just going into like your first NHL game and so however long, right? It's gonna be a pain in the ass, but I understand him leaving. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. There's a good case for him. Yeah. He was a backup to in that Stanley Cup. I mean, he was great for 10 years, man. He was one of the best goalies of this generation. I would say. Just because of the times I watched him absolutely rob people, and he's only I don't know if he won I think he was second or third place the year Hellebuck won, and that was only 2 years removed from that. So I mean, he was still very close to being at elite level, I would say.
He probably would have won the Conn Smythe if the Bruins won the Cup in 2019.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
like he was that good.
Yeah, I'm happy they didn't win just because I like the Blues story. And
yes.
I mean, a lot of Canucks fans thought that would be the story this year. I don't think it would be. I don't think that will be now, but
hope. The other thing with Swayman, so they did get a nice addition with Hampus Lindholm. But I mean, you know, so you have Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, Matt Grzelcyk, and their third D pair is Derek Forbort and Connor Clifton.
Yeah, it's rough watching Connor Clifton play. I mean, they got lucky because they got rid of Lozon for free. I mean, Forbert's kind of just like big. Again, it's just like the Myers situation. I told my brother today as well. I'm like, Jacob Trouba is what the Canucks thought they were getting with Myers. Like, it's just like a big guy who can hit and score, but they got Myers. They got Myers. I don't think Trouba's worth $8 million, but I don't think the Rangers can be sad. I don't know why I've gotten to this point. I always bring up Myers randomly at this point in any conversation, but I was like, I don't think Trouba's been like worth $8 million, but I don't think the Rangers are mad right now because he's been playing really good this year.
Nobody Rav in like, you know, Paulie sides. Like, so what do you guys think about Tyler Myers? 11. I got Josh Norris going to LA instead of Gabe Vilardi.
I do too.
I still have stock in Gabe Vilardi.
He's been good in the AHL. I think they sent him down. I don't know if he's still in the AHL right now, but yeah, he got sent down for a while. He's been doing well. Hoping he's not one of those Nick Patan guys, though. You know, you hope he's not one of those, you know what I mean. The AHL elite,
the NHL, the Adam Brooks,
the Matt Reeds.
Yeah. Norris, again, he's like one of these Ottawa players that I like. I think he's a really good prospect. Deserves to be in the NHL. It's just if he didn't play for a shit team like Ottawa. Like the other thing about Ottawa last year, like I know people wanted to talk about like Stützle and get.
Oh yeah, he was better than Stützle last year for sure.
Yeah, like he was the best rookie on Ottawa last year.
100%. Yeah, I don't. There's a lot of like that's what like I think even now still people think like Stützle is their like. Stützle is probably the guy they're running with, but Norris has definitely been like giving them Ottawa a run for its money right now. I think I would say besides like he definitely carried a lot of the load while Batherson was out during that stretch. It didn't. I mean, obviously didn't work out in the win column, but I mean he's been good, man. And like considering the circumstances again, like the way they've been playing and like the way. I mean, everything's worked out for him, and you know, Pierre McGuire doing what he does. It's been good to see the progression, especially from last year, him keeping the form. And I know he's only had, I think, about 100 games played, right? Like it's probably been around 100, 110 games. So you don't have the biggest sample size, but I think it's worked out amazingly for him.
Yeah, and if you play it on any other team,
again, right? Yeah, it's the same thing. We did it.
So yeah. I mean, I like Josh Norris. He originally goes 19th to San Jose. He's a part of the Erik Karlsson trade going back over to Ottawa.
Yeah, I always try to justify it just because, you know, at the top, like you got to remember, like Erik Karlsson, probably like prime Erik Karlsson is one of the best offensive defensemen like ever. Like that's why you obviously sign him to that big contract. But I don't know. That trade is just rough nowadays. Like I don't even know how good Erik Karlsson's been this season. I don't really like keeping up with San Jose hockey much, just because I mean I never liked them since I was a kid. But I mean, 31 points in 42 games. It's not too bad, right? And anytime he's gone to the playoffs, he's been good. It's just San Jose hasn't, and probably this contract's one of the reasons why. I mean, I'm happy that Meyer is good because I always thought like I'm always I don't know. It's like what if the Sharks took Rantanen instead of Meyer kind of thing. But I mean, the way Meyer's playing, I don't think you really mind.
So, yeah, Josh Norris, I got him going 11th. You're on the board here with the 12th overall pick.
Number 12. Actually, by the way, number 10 was I took was Swayman.
Yeah,
one of the only goalies from Alaska. You know the other two. One played for the Red Wings, not recent, within the past 10 years. One still play? I think one still plays for. I'll give you the one, and it was Phoenix Copley.
Yeah, Phoenix Copley. The other one is.
You got it?
I don't. I'm struggling with this. Who's the other goalie who's from Alaska?
It's Ty Conklin.
Ty Conklin. I should have known.
Yeah, that's an Anchorage guy. So yeah, one of the 14 players born in Alaska. Obviously, Gomez, Dubinsky, got all those guys.
Yeah.
Number 12 originally was Marty Necas. We talked about him.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you're getting into the point of like who you think, like who, like what do you? I think the top.
I feel like there's two more. Like there's two guys who I would pick, and then it's kind of a crapshoot. But
I think I'm in the crapshoot right now, just because I think I may not be sold on this one guy.
Okay.
I'm not sold on the guy I'm taking right now too. To be honest, I think I will go with him, and it might be recency bias because he has turned it on recently. I think he's much better than players give him out to be. He's a shorter guy. He's 5'8". Played for Spokane Chiefs. It's Kyler Yamamoto. I'm going with.
Okay.
When he came into the scene in the NHL, he was like 26 points, 27 games. Had a great start. Hasn't really reached that form. Last year's a rough year for him, at least. I mean, this year it also, like on paper, looks better, pretty bad. But as of late, like I'd say the past month and a half, he's really turned it on. I don't know the exact goals he's had, but like just from watching him play, he's been in the correct position. It's just, again, it's like same thing with Garland kind of thing. Garland, I think, has the same amount of points right now as Yamamoto does. Obviously, Yamamoto plays with McDavid and Draisaitl, and Yamamoto doesn't even really get much power play time. You got to understand, like Garland even gets power play time. Yamamoto has 32 points in 65 games on team. He doesn't really even get power play time with. You obviously play with Draisaitl and McDavid, so you get the position, you get that right. But I really think he's a good player, good little player there.
I've always been a fan of Kyler Yamamoto. He's a Chief, but he's, I'm a silver tip, but like one of the guys where like I really respect and I really love, the speed aspect, the shot aspect. He's almost got 200 career NHL games.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like it's kind of impressive, considering, there's some people who will say, well, it's the McDavid and or Draisaitl effect of playing with like the the best
that doesn't always work, right? I mean, it worked with like a bit with Cassian when it like fucking Chase on like right, it works in some case. Like it doesn't always work. Ty Ratty's one. Ty Ratty is a guy who in the preseason played amazingly with McDavid, and once it got into the season, it just didn't work out. But like Ty Ratty's this guy who didn't he break like records in the CHL with his goal scoring?
Yeah,
right?
like he had a bunch of like scoring records.
You're right, exactly. So you get this like amazing goal scorer, and it just doesn't work out. And Yamamoto's came in like 30 odd. I think he has like a few PowerPoint points. I think like 3 or 4, right? Like that's 30 odd points, 5-on-5, and like Edmonton's been up and down recently, and Yamamoto didn't start off well at all. Like over the past month or two, the guy has been great. I think he has 5 points past 5 games, 3 of goals. Yesterday, I wouldn't even count as a game for them just because of that 9-5 beatdown. But I think he's been great. And the coach has shown much more. I forgot his name right now because they obviously fired Tippett.
Well, that's another thing too. Like,
what's the coach's name? I'm completely forgetting it right
now. Jay Woodcroft.
Yeah, Woodcroft. Yeah, but I mean, he's been giving more time on ice. He's been even from last year. The last few years, he's been like he started off with like 13, 14, and then he's gone to like 16, and recently he's just been getting Like he got like a few 20-minute games recently. So obviously Woodcroft's been having more confidence in him, and it's shown on the stat sheet.
Well, and the other thing, like, we should really we can go through this list and check, but like, he's already on his second NHL coach.
Exactly.
Like he's already on like another guy in a weird situation in Edmonton who he's had to really work for his job. Like Kailer Yamamoto was not expected to be this top 6 stud forward.
Exactly.
Like it wasn't a given. It wasn't an obvious thing. He's had to work for it.
Yeah, and it is a risky pick taking him. Like it's always a risky pick taking small guys, right?
Yeah,
and it works out. And I think it's worked out here. Taking it's a 22nd overall pick he was, and I think having a guy who can get you, like he's gonna get 20 goals this year, and I think that's a really good thing. He'll probably he's already broken probably his career high if he hasn't already. Yeah, he has. So obviously you got to think about that's his career high. Hopefully that he takes the next step next year. I would say next year would be his real sophomore season, because I would say he's played I think before the season he's played around 80-ish game, like 80, 90-ish games, just because like every shutdown, you get those like 1 or 2 game stints randomly. So like I think all those add up to like 90. So next year will be his real second season, and hopefully Edmonton makes some changes to put him and like the rest of the team in a better position to score. But yeah, I think Kailer Yamamoto is a good pick. He should be moved up. But yeah, there's always the risk that comes with taking smaller guys, and it's worked out in this season with this situation, and like Caulfield and like Garland, a bunch of other guys.
Well, and like imagine like Yamamoto, 12 pick at the time was Carolina. Imagine Yamamoto replacing HS in Carolina right now.
Yeah, I think it would be similar too. I think it would be pretty. That's my odd. I think it'd be kind of similar there.
He wouldn't have the same pressure that he does in Edmonton.
Yeah, that's the thing. And again, that is the Canadian market too. I remember it may have been the Garland podcast he did with Spittin' Chicklets, but he had similar. I think it was Damcourt Garland, because I was obviously listening to whenever they talk to Canucks. But yeah, they're talking about like it is. I mean, everyone in the Canadian market talks about like it is just much more difficult. You get the criticism where you could like that's why players will go to Florida or go to somewhere else. You don't get the criticism there.
No, nobody knows who Phil Kessel is in Arizona. Nobody knows.
No, who's Barkov? Who's this? Who's the MVP of the NHL? Huberdeau? Who's that guy?
Who is this Huberdeau guy?
Live there.
So you got Yamamoto 12. I'm gonna go 13. Vegas is the original pick here. This is gonna be an interesting pick. I'm kind of.
Oh yeah, I'm in my crapshoot at this point. By the way,
I don't know if you're gonna like this or you're gonna hate this. I'm gonna go for Vegas with the 13th overall pick. They originally took Nick Suzuki. I'm gonna go Jake Ottinger.
I have that too.
Okay,
good one.
Because I mean, like, so Vegas is just starting. They've already drafted Fleury, so they have their goalie of the future. They have their goalie. They don't know how long, but they have their goalie. Ottinger, this kid from Boston University, Hockey East, NCAA, and now he's the future of the goalie for the Dallas Stars, because everybody else kind of flamed out or just is too hurt to play hockey. I think Ottinger's having a really good year. It would really cement himself if he could get Dallas into the playoffs, considering considering how bad I think the Stars actually are. It would really be a big move for Ottinger if he could get Dallas into the playoffs. Otherwise, I mean, and here's like, goalies are such a weird position to draft, because you really have to be patient with goalies.
Yeah, obviously it's really when you want to take a goalie in the first round. Obviously, he was taking the first round. So whenever you take like guys in the first round, you got to like hope they were like, you got to make sure like they work out kind of thing. Like, and I think that's what Nashville's trying to do with Askarov right now, and that's what Minnesota's probably going to take with Wallstead and you guys with Costa. They're probably going to take a much longer approach to that. You want to make sure these guys work out, because they obviously take them so high because they're skilled. So you want to nurture them in the correct way. You don't want to put them in. You don't want to DiPietro them kind of thing, where you put them in. You like let them out, shell them out in their first or second year kind of thing.
So, yeah, I mean, Vegas to use Jake Ottinger right now. That out there.
I don't think. I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily Brossois' fault or Thompson's fault. That situation, just because like it's a lot of it's been the team. Like obviously they came back against Chicago, but that was a brutal performance. Those first two periods, like that was terrible by them. I don't even put the goals on Logan Thompson for any of them, especially the fourth one where DeBrincat it's DeBrincat, right? Um, yeah, they would definitely help with him there. At that point, I don't know if you can bring Blenner in like 2 years ago. You just have you, and I don't know if you even trade Fleury for whoever that dude was.
I don't even know his name. Yeah. Did you see the thing? I think the NHL posted it on their Instagram page. Who is the best Alex DeBrincat?
Or the whole thing is DeBrincat.
DeBrincat or Pietrangelo, and me running the Silvertip social media was like, what if I said Svetlikov?
Stop, dude.
Jake Ottinger, I am going 13th to the Vegas Golden
Knights. That's who I had too. What do I have here? I had a few notes for. I just had he's been better recently. He had a good game against the Canucks. I wouldn't consider the Pettersson shots is just Pettersson, so I didn't really give him their hard shots. And the second goal was kind of Pavelski playing defense. So that's why, that game, that was like the main game I've really watched Jake Ottinger play, right? Because I don't really watch much Dallas or like Florida, any of these teams down there.
We went to see Dallas in person, and that was enough Dallas for
I think I don't even know if that was. I think it was Hudobin. I'm pretty sure.
I think it was, but we saw Dallas in person. And it's just like, I'm done with Dallas.
It is some rough hockey. I can't lie. That was. It is difficult to watch, especially when you want, especially when Sagan and Ben really haven't been what they want them to be, kind of thing, really. I think Ottinger is a good goalie. I think he can reach the level of like an elite goalie in the future, and I hope he does. Right now, I think he's like a good starter. I would put him at a good starter, like above average starter, even when he's on top of his game. But yeah, really good goalie.
You got the next pick here, 14.
Yeah, so we're in the crapshoot. I don't really have much to say here. Number 14, number 15. I really rate my number 15 guy. I think he's probably like. Do I think he's more valuable than my number 14 guy? I don't think the GMs would think that way, but you could argue either way. Number 14 was Cal Foote. I don't know how you break into that defensive lineup right now. So that's probably he plays occasionally for him.
That's it's not his thing. He's not a horrible player. Like, it's not a horrible pick.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of funny to think of like him being like one of like the, not even the worst, but like least impactful Lightning draft picks.
Yeah, that's weird. Especially because he wasn't considered to be that. I think he's gone to a lot of games this year.
Yeah.
He's on 41 actually. That's much more. I thought he's in like the 20s or 30s this year. But yeah, he's gone to much more games this year. Hopefully I'm hoping it works out. Like he only plays around like, what is it? It's probably like 14-ish. Yeah, 13:08. He only plays around 13 minutes a night. So he's not getting much time, but I'm hoping it works out for him. He had a nice 2-point night, 1 goal, 1 assist early in the month. So guy's talented, obviously. But I won't go with him. I will go with Max Comtois. Again, another what do you call it? I wouldn't call him a Team Canada junior legend, especially considering
not a legend, but like
we always use the word legend as like kind of like a joke kind of thing.
Ironically, you're using it.
I use it ironically.
Okay.
But yeah, last season he led the kind of compared to Hronek.
He was arguably the best player on the Ducks last year.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. He led them in scoring last year. Obviously this year hasn't worked out. He went like 20 games where I don't think he even had like a goal, and then he got injured and he came back, and it's not really looked too well for him. It's not really looked too well for that team. And like ever since like Troy Terry stopped playing like Crosby and more like a good player. Troy Terry has been bad. He's still been like near point per game and probably their best forward. But like ever since like the players toned it like stopped. Like I think Isaac Lundestrom was like on like over a point per game at one point. Ever since like I guess assuming the shooting percentages dropped, it kind of went down for him a bit. And then obviously they started selling. I'm hoping a bunch of Rickard Rakell's gone, right? I'm hoping Comtois can hopefully slot in higher up in the lineup and help them. But yeah, he's a guy he's a guy that like he's shown that can be like a nice gritty forward who can, give you like, I think he's like a guy who can give you like 25 year out when he's on top of his game. I mean, he can take a bit too many penalties. That's what I've seen from Anaheim fans. He does take some penalties, but besides that, like, I think he's a good player, man. I think he's a good winger. I think, and obviously last year it was shown, but I think the reason I probably may have even had him higher than Ottinger, but I think it's just this season how that's turned out. I put him a bit lower.
He's one of those guys who Anaheim like is really banking on to be a good player for this rebuild to go well.
I think it should work out. I think it's just been a lot of issues that the team's been dealing with, and him as well. I mean, the injury probably doesn't help, and I mean just the team play.
Well, it's also I think trying to figure out what Max Comtois is. Like, is he a top line player, or do we think he's better suited in like a middle six role?
Yeah,
like I think, and he's still really young.
Yeah, he's only 22, 23, right?
Yeah, like he's still young. Anaheim doesn't need to be good right now, and he'll find his role. He'll carve out his role, and I'm sure he will be a successful part in the Anaheim Ducks. And he is kind of one of those guys, like you say, like Team Canada legends, but like a guy who like he had a rough ending to how like his, that World Juniors.
Yeah,
went.
That's why I always like. I mean, I felt bad for that whole thing, and then like what he had to deal with afterwards, that whole situation with the fans. Like,
yeah, you kind of feel a bit of sympathy for him, and it's like you hope he can turn it around in his NHL career.
I mean, he's shown so many like bright spots. I do believe like hopefully the increased ice time. Probably, I don't know. His ice time's kind of decreased recently from what I've seen, but like hopefully, I mean, there's more roster spots available. I'm hoping he can get up in the lineup, and hopefully, I hope he can work some of the guys over the offseason. I think that's also a big thing, just like maintaining. I don't want to be some like fucking therapist here. Like, maintaining your relationships is great, but like just like working on like your game with the rest of the players will hopefully help. Just building that, like, I mean, I guess there's a lot of things with Anaheim this year. I don't think Anaheim knew what they were going into this year, kind of thing. I feel like you kind of understand that, right? Because I feel like Anaheim was kind of like where the Canucks were, where they're like, what are we? And then get into the season, and we're both like, holy shit, we suck. But we just decided to fire the coach and like become okay. Whereas they kind of like started off good and then it kind of fell off. So, and I mean, I'm hoping it works out for them.
There's an argument to be made that Scott going to see them jinxed them in person.
Yeah, I mean they won, but that was the start of that was the TSN turning point.
TSN turning point, arguably.
I think we lost 6-3 or something. I forgot, but like, don't talk about that, man.
So Comtois you have going 14. So now we have 6 picks left, 3 each. I got the next pick here.
You could probably speed through these a bit quicker.
Yeah.
We can let's just talk about them a bit, but like not maybe we could chill with the Max Comtois stories and shit.
I'm gonna go 15. I'm gonna go Mario Ferraro for the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have him a bit lower, but that's a good one.
Plays
tough minutes, man. He plays some fucking tough minutes down there.
Well, and like he's like as much shit as we give the Sharks, like there's an argument to be made the Sharks have the worst GM job right now. He's actually one of the bright spots. Like he's one of like the bright spots in San Jose. He plays tough minutes. He puts up a fucking fight every night almost pretty much on that back end with San Jose. Yeah. And he's somebody who I would, again, kind of who I mentioned, like Robert Thomas, definitely somebody who I would probably try and trade for at least once, just because I like what he brings and what he gives on defense every night for the Sharks. So I got Ferraro going 15th. Who would be at that time? I don't know who would be in the redraft, but Vegas
is Brandstrom, and that was the Brandstrom for Stone. Which that has worked out for Ottawa. Brandstrom's gotten time again now, but I don't think he's really turned out into what they've wanted. Yeah, 7 points in 36 games this year. Like for a guy you bring in to be your offensive defenseman of the future, and that's become Chabot. I think more recently. I don't think Chabot's really like. Chabot's not a offensive defenseman like Barry is. Like he's a much better defender, but Chabot like. He doesn't. I don't know. I feel like his points totals don't really understand. You don't really understand how good Chabot is. But I'm going back on my tangents where I'll just start talking about other players. So I had him at 18. I actually have. I believe this is the most underrated player probably in this whole draft, you could argue. Damn, what's his fucking name on dude? I hate Nicks, dude? Just because like, how do you spell their Nick? Okay, this is how you spell this Nick, because it'll be like Nick, Nik, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just typing anything. Vegas pick, or is this okay? No, Calgary was number 16, and they selected Valimaki. And Valimaki's in that weird spot where it's like, well, you just don't fit in the lineup right now. I think he's a 7th defenseman. I think Zadorov and Gabrantsov have actually ended up playing really well. Besides yesterday, they've actually been really like playing really well. I mean, yeah, I think Valimaki's a guy who I think can work out for him. I think it's just, again, I think they're on that like road right now where it's like, okay, if these guys are working, let's just run with them. Worry about Valimaki for later.
Valimaki is like Oliver Shillington a year later.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's still trying to fight his way into the lineup.
Yeah, but I'm this very underrated defenseman. I'm going with Nick Hague.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going with Nick Hague. I don't know if you even had him in here, but he plays around 19 minutes a night for the Vegas Golden Knights, but he has really good analytics. He's put up like 14, 15, these like points like the past 3 years, like yearly. I think I don't know. I think it's like it's like you don't really understand how good he is until you watch him play. And the times I've seen him play, he's just really well positioned. He's a taller guy, he's 6'6", right? So, but like it's hard to be 6'6" and good. Again, I will bring in Myers into the situation. He's
Erica Branson.
Yeah, even then, Erica Branson's been actually like okay this season. Again, Spar last game, the Canucks 7-1 beat down. He's actually been pretty decent. But Nick Hague's a guy. I mean, he's deceptively good on the offensive end. I think he has a fairly high Corsi percentage as well. Like considering he's a very like defensive guy. I don't know. I'm very bad with the comparisons with the players in this draft just because it is a newer bunch of players. It's hard to like really compare a player like Nick Hague. He's a guy who I believe can be like, he has the potential to be like a lower end first end guy. Like on a bad team, he could be their best defenseman. Like again, if he goes to the Oilers, he's their best defensive defenseman. That like one of those type of things. I don't think you trade a guy like him because he's at a good cap hit. I don't know if he's got an extension or anything, but I mean, league minimum for a guy of his structure is great.
With same thing with Hague, as I said with Mario Ferraro, it's like Vegas is getting a lot of shit right now for how they are as a team, but like Nick Hague is one of the bright spots. I feel like Nick Hague is like, and nobody's going to talk about him because you're a defender. You're supposed to do your job, and he is. So like you aren't going to get. It's like an offensive lineman. It's like if you do your job properly, nobody's going to talk about it. But like Nick Hague is doing his job really well with Vegas, and probably should get more recognition for how well he's playing.
The funniest part probably is that he's probably Vegas's best draft pick ever, just because he's the only one that's played meaningful games. I
think with Vegas,
obviously. No, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Like for Vegas, I think that's their best because I mean, you don't have Suzuki Brandstrom in Glass, and then or Krebs. Like you're their next player. They have 7 players, I think that they've drafted that have played for their team. Like that's excluding Glass and Krebs. Even like it would be Leshizin, whatever his name is next. He played 31 games, and then it's Hague at 142 at the top. But yeah, I believe he's a really good player, and I think he bolsters their defense. I think I think like defensively he's as good, if not better than Pietrangelo even at times. Like he's a really good defenseman.
So you got Hague 16th, 17th, and 17th.
Liljegren Leafs.
It's not going to be Timothy Liljegren, although name alone, I kind of want him. I don't know how you're going to feel about this. I'm going to go Eli Tolvanen.
Ooh. Yeah, that's one I didn't have on my list. I had him at like 23 if I really wanted to, I think.
I'm gonna go Eli Tolvanen because I like his scoring ability.
Underrated just because I mean he plays less minutes. That again, it's just one of the things. Like I wonder what these guys will do if you give them 20 minutes a night.
And there's an argument to be made that he could be like the next Forsberg if Forsberg goes. They just like whatever they give Forsberg. It's like, okay, Eli, here you go.
And hope he has a 25% shooting percentage as well. Like you just gotta hope
pretty much, because that's a sustainable number, is shooting 25%.
Someone's paying Forsberg so much money. Someone's gonna do it.
Someone will.
Oh, he deserves it, man. He deserves it.
Someone will. But Eli Tolvanen, he's got a shot on him.
Yeah, only 9 goals, but like again, it's one of those things like it just hasn't worked out. And I believe it. Like I think last year had a really good season, like 22 points in 40 games. Like watching him, he looked much better than I thought. Like most people are giving credit for.
And I think like if Nashville, not saying they will, if Nashville goes on a bit of a run here, because Matt Duchene's getting hot. Forsberg's obviously playing well. If they can put it all together, I feel like Tolvanen will really come alive, and you'll really get to see Eli Tolvanen, step up his game in a bit of a postseason run. But we'll see. I got him 17th. Who that would be? Who would have taken?
It was Toronto's taking Tolvanen.
Toronto taking Tolvanen. Perfect. Another winger, just what the Leafs need.
I actually, I'd Philip Hedl there, but
okay.
Above Philip Hedl, I did have Timothy Liljegren. I believe I think it's like the Toronto thing where like they just make these guys look like they're insane. Like whenever when Toronto signs like some like butt plug 7th round pick and they're like, oh my God, this is the next fucking god player. He will make Tavares and Nylander play well. This is it. Matthew Knees will do it.
This Dennis Malgin guy. Watch out.
Dude, have you heard of the big guy from Boston? We just brought in Nick Ritchie. This is gonna work. There's no way it doesn't work out. Yeah, I mean, Liljegren's worked out. He played today. He had a big hit on Marchment, man. You don't even expect a guy like him to really hit. He's just a 6 foot, maybe 6 foot 190.
Is he your pick at 18?
Yeah, no, he 100% is my pick at 18. Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna go with him at 18. Who was 18? It was Boston. Eero Vakanainen. He got traded with Lindholm.
Yeah, he just got traded.
Yeah. Hopefully again, Vakanainen, hopefully he gets some time there. I could go on about that, but yeah, hopefully Vakanainen gets time. But yeah, I mean, Liljegren's worked out. I think I'm happy. Obviously now we have Giordano there, and what's the right side looking like? It was Lyubushkin, Hole, and Liljegren today. Sandin's down then? Was Sandin playing? Who was it? I completely forgot. Sorry. I was like on and off on that game. I started watching in the third for the most part. But
I mean, well, that's the thing is like, you're trying to be patient with those guys, but at the same time, the Maple Leafs like need to win right now, and you're trying to be patient not only with like Liljegren but also Sandin.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're trying to get those guys to develop into to make sure that they are good top 6 NHL defensemen like you think.
And the thing is they are like right now they're both are. The problem is like you got Muzzin as well. He's on IR. Once it's a healthy lineup, I don't know if you see him in the lineup.
Well, I was gonna say with like Liljegren and Sandin, it's like now this is the season where it's finally clicked. Where like now it's finally come together, and I don't blame Toronto. Like that's not to say that Toronto made a mistake by going to get Lyubushkin and Giordano. That's not the case.
No, that's a great improvement on like just because like Lyubushkin is a guy who's just pure defense, whereas Sandin and Liljegren, especially Sandin, can bring great offense like to your team. And I think Lyubushkin's a guy who can definitely like that's something that Toronto needed, just a big guy who can hit on the backhand, but can actually like I wouldn't compare it to like Gudbranson or Zadorov, who's just really there, or like Sherrod probably be the best, just a hitter. Whereas like Lyubushkin could come in, be the big guy, but he can also win the puck battles and be in good position. Like I was watching because they always like fucking dissect and analyze the Leafs during the periods out of any other team, which I do. I got really intrigued in just because they brought up Lyubushkin's positioning, and he's really good at him and Riley were really good at just when you push the play, you go into the zone, like become that fourth guy coming in. And Lyubushkin would always go in, but he knew when to pull out. He knew when to do this. Whereas like there's a lot of guys who play those type of minutes, like the way Lyubushkin will. and cannot do that. So I always think that trade would worked out for them. But then obviously you got like Lily Grinsendi, and how is that going to work with their development?
So I like, you know what? I like that pick.
Yeah, I think he's just underrated. That's what my main thing. He doesn't get enough respect, probably just because the amount of time he plays. But yeah, we can go to 19.
19.
Norris to Sharks, Carlson trade.
A lot of different guys I could go with here.
Yeah, there's a bunch. I have two guys I think I'm gonna go with, but yeah, there's a bunch of guys here.
I will take. You know what?
Do it. Do it. Do whatever you think. Oh, do whatever you're thinking, whatever the hot take is. I know you have the hot take here.
I still have stock in Casey Middlestat.
Oh, you're actually gonna take him. Oh wow, now.
I was stuck. I was stuck. Well, I was stuck between Middlestat and Nolan Patrick.
I didn't have any of them in my top 20.
All right.
I don't.
All right. Here's the thing. So you can make an argument for like Henry Jokiharju. Probably wasn't going to take him. You could almost convince me Alex Formerton.
Dude, I don't even have those guys. I have three other guys.
All right.
So there's no way you could have convinced me Formanton, by the way. I don't know.
You could have made an argument for me. Middlestat, I do have some stock in him still. I am gonna have to. I'm gonna take him. You know why? Because
World Juniors.
Not World Juniors. Similar to Casey Middlestat, I also can't do a single pull-up. So as a result,
is that picture? I don't even want to search up that one picture. I don't know if it was of him failing it or of him trying to do something, but yeah, that was rough.
Well, wasn't him and Sam Bennett also the other guy who like couldn't do a pull-up? Somebody else can.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it may have been Sam Bennett, but I mean that's worked out. So I mean, I don't know about Middlestat.
Oh yeah, no, like you know, not being able to do a pull-up doesn't mean that you're a shitty hockey. Like doesn't mean that you're bad at hockey.
Well, yeah, look at KD, right? Like I think KD is probably the biggest example of like being terrible in the gym, and then like you're insane.
Yeah. So both Middlestat and Sam Bennett could not do a single pull-up. Middlestat did one bench press. I don't know what
weight.
I don't know what the weight is. I'm
NHL.
guessing it's just a single plate.
There's no way. NHL combine.
I'm guessing it's just like, you know, a 45-pound plate on each side and a bar. So that's like what, 130 pounds?
135.
135.
Participants perform their maximum number of bench presses at 70 to 80% their body weight. So yeah, like for him, you got to remember, like he's probably like 170-ish at that point if he's not doing it. So yeah, that's kind of rough. He's probably not hitting a gym at all ever.
No,
that's weird. That I always find that weird because I feel like if you're going to the NHL, you got to probably have some like conditioning people, right? Which is that's really weird. I mean, he's in the NHL now, so it's worked, but I don't know.
If you're smart, you have the people in your entourage who are like, bro, I would be like going to the gym every day.
Yeah, then because then he's like, why? Then you show him like a picture of like just I don't know, Ed Jovanovski, and like, yeah, this is a big fucking dude who might hit you.
Eric Branson or Tyler Myers or
I was gonna bring up those guys, but I feel like I brought them up too much. I'm like, okay, what's
I brought them up, so it's different.
Okay. 20. Who was it?
20. Final pick. Here it is. I think I know where you're going with this, but I want to see.
20 was Thomas. The next guy I got picked was Hedel. I had Hedel at 17. I had 18 Ferraro. I had 19 Texier. I had 20 at Mikey Anderson. That's what I had, and I don't know what to do. So I'm just being straight up. I had no clue what to do. I might just keep Mikey Anderson with the Blues. You know.
I like Mikey Anderson. I like it.
He plays some. I think it's the same thing with him and Haig. Like he plays some tough minutes, and they don't get enough respect for it. Just because, I mean, obviously, like with Vegas, you got Pietrangelo ahead of him. You got Shea Theodore ahead of him. In fuckface in LA, you got Doughty in front of him.
Fuckface.
I think Edler, him and Bjornfot have been really good on that left side, and that's probably one of the reasons that they're even in a playoff spot right now. I think he's injured right now, but I think he's a really good underrated defensive guy there, and he could chip in occasionally as well.
He's part of the reason why LA is doing well this year, but he probably won't get at like next year is when he'll finally start getting the like attention, like
because I think
the respect.
I think, yeah, because I'm assuming they see how good he's been, and they probably, I'm assuming, I don't know if they let Edler go just because of how good he actually has been. I'm actually surprised Edler's been as good as he is at this age. He's been playing like how I saw Edler play when I was like 12, 13 years old, dude. Like, I don't know what, but yeah, Edler's been really good. Yeah, if Edler doesn't stay, you assume Mikey plays with Doughty again. I think they share time occasionally this year, but yeah, I'm hoping that works out because then people finally understand how good he is. I believe he's much better. I mean, I saw realistically, I'll just go with Hedel there just because like, he's 20th, and then like I'll just go with Hedel just because he's a guy I had at 17, and then I Texier at 19, right? So
so here's the thing. I like Texier. The problem I have with him is that I've only seen him do well with Columbus, if that makes sense, like under the Tort system. And
yeah, he has not been that good this year, which is surprising. A player like Texier shouldn't really work under that system. He's had a decent year this year, right? Like it's not been bad. I think it's probably, I'm assuming, yeah, he has 20 points, which is probably his career high. I can't see, but it's a guy who I think he could be like his ceiling is like a decent, like middle six guy. And I think he can be that. I just don't know if he's reached that level yet, but that's why I had him there, just because I feel like him. That's like the same thing. I'll go with Hedel as well, right? Like him and Hedel are kind of those guys where I'm like, they have the skill set to be a second line center or a third line center. It's just whether they reach that. And I think Texie is probably even closer than Hedel is right now.
And I could look completely stupid because like Columbus could be competing for a wild card next year. And like Texier had like a really good year. And it's like, yeah, you look like a fucking idiot, Ian.
I mean, there's a lot of guys on Columbus who randomly, I think their captain, Boone Jenner. I forgot to say that. I gotta show my man some respect. Another legend in the World Juniors game, if we're being honest. That's back in the day.
Was Liam Foudy
I don't think Juniors? I wouldn't consider a World Juniors legend, but Boone Jenner was.
I like Liam Foudy. But Texier, yeah, I don't know. Casey Middlestat was more just an ego thing for me. Just
that's why, I didn't have Middlestat in there. I mean, Texie's more of an offensive guy, and that's similar with Hedel. I would say like Hedel's probably the better all around player than Texie is. That's why I had a one pick higher.
Hedel's probably better than probably all of those guys. If we're being honest.
Right. It shows on like the team's form as well. And I mean, Hedel obviously. I'm hoping Hedel can like, I don't know if relax a bit is the word, because he was really one of the only NHL players on that bottom six, if we're being honest, like NHL caliber players, and getting caught Mott and I mean Goodrow at the start of the season as well. Like a lot of that has helped with him.
He also feels really like, I don't know if really old is the right thing, but wasn't he a part of the McDonough trade like when we were graduating?
It was like, Miller, McDonough. It was Hayek, Howden,
I think Nemestikov was in that trade too.
Let me see.
I guess my point I'm trying to make here is that Hedel feels like he's been in the league for a long time too.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just don't. I'm gonna go with Hedel there. That's my 20th pick. I think I'm just gonna finalize at that. But I think,
all right.
I think, yeah. It feels like he's been in the league for a long time as well. I know what you mean, but I think I don't want to judge a guy who's only been given third line time too early. I know it's been a while, but I don't want to judge a guy who's been getting third line time this early. Like it's only been like a few years into his career, and you still got to see. He's better than Brett Howden. I'll tell you that right now. He's better than Brett Howden.
Well, I think also too, and I know I picked Casey Middlestat, so this is really showing like and Tolvanen. So like this is me really showing something here. I think if you get to that point where it's like you just want a guy who like you can just pencil in on like the third line, and you don't have to worry like you like
That's
at this point you can keep going, like maybe in like the later rounds you can try and go for like those big project guys, but like there's also something to be said for just finding a guy who you can just put in on the third line and get some like penalty kill minutes, and you don't have to worry about it.
I guess before we end off and we do our final piece here, it was Vlad Nemesnikov, 28th pick, which is in the 2018 draft, which is Nils Lundqvist, and then it was Hayek and Howden for Miller and McDonough. Hayek and Howden suck. Howden got I think it was a pretty bad injury. He had to go to hospital recently. Hopefully he's fine. But I think he's been better on Vegas than he has been here, and he was in New York. And I don't know what Hayek's been doing. I don't think he's even their ninth defenseman at this point. Like Schneider and Lundqvist already jumped him a while ago. I
think you're right. So there you go. There's our 2017 NHL redraft.
Yeah. Speaking of some guys that could have been like, I think like guys like Rathbone, Brandstrom, I think like a bunch of those D guys, even brought up Robin Salo, bringing Sebastian Aho at this point. Like there's like a bunch of guys that have gotten time and have shown good progress, and you just got to wait for a bunch of these guys. So I think the biggest one, the most underrated guy that could 100% be on here in the future is Ukko-Pekka Lehkonen.
Yeah,
goalie. That's a guy who I think he can be on here. There's a lot of guys that I think unfortunately haven't worked out, like Vesalainen, like Patrick Glass. I think there's guys on there that, and even Tolvanen to an extent, but I think these guys can 100% bring it back. I just whether they do, I don't know. Those are, I think, but I would say UPL is the main guy. Like, I think he can 100% break this top 20, and he's been good in his stints in Buffalo.
Like other guys I liked on this list, like I like Alex Formenton. I like Cal Foote. Valimaki is like Oliver Shillington a year ago.
Yeah.
Morgan Geekie. Like I like Morgan Geekie.
Yeah, I forgot to bring him up too. That was another guy.
It's just he's like it hasn't been a great year in Seattle. You can make the argument Stuart Skinner is going to be the starting goalie for the Oilers in the playoffs. If they make it.
Fucking Woodcroft should just went back to Koskinen after that Dubé goal. At that point, might as well.
Why not? Gustav Lindstrom in Detroit, he's gotten more time this year, and he's actually been
he's been good. I memed you earlier today about him, but he's actually been decent. Rasmussen's just big and tosses his body around. So that's obviously one that really hasn't worked out, him and Zadina. But I think I don't know. I think out of all the guys who haven't, I think Veleno is the guy who I think could work out the most. Like I think he can be like a good middle six guy for sure.
Other guys on this list who I had stock in. Here's a great trio of guys: Morgan Frost.
I did have stock in.
And Alexei Heponiemi.
Florida or Chicago, is that
Florida? He drafted by Florida. Okay. He played for Swift in their 2018 Mem Cup run. But the problem with Heponiemi, he was like 5'6".
Yeah, that's a problem. A bunch of the smaller guys, and that might be one of the reasons why he hasn't really worked out. I swear he got traded to Chicago. I may have been mixing up. There's a guy with a similar last name too, so I may have been mixing up. But UPL is my guy, dude. I think he can become he reminds me a lot of how Allmark played there.
Heponiemi is one of the few guys in this draft class with negative point shares.
Let me pull up this. Is he actually? There's a few guys in there.
He has negative 0.1. Elias Anderson, Michael DiPietro,
and Vesalainen are the guys down there. Yeah. And Morgan Barron, who got traded recently.
Yeah, he got traded back. I don't remember. He got traded. Would you like to do the mailbag? There is one mailbag question that we have, but I could ask it tomorrow with Scott. It's a baseball question.
Then ask it with Scott because I don't know shit about baseball right now. I'll be honest. I just assumed the lockout was going to last the rest of the season, so I didn't pay attention.
That's actually a fair observation.
I just stopped paying attention. Then I realized, holy shit! You got all the notifications, he's back, and I'm like, oh fuck! I didn't really even pay attention. I just stopped paying attention. And then you saw Matt Chapman getting traded to the Blue Jays. It's like, hey, Josh Donaldson is back, baby. Literally the only move I can remember is that one, and then Vlad Guerrero getting like $9 million for the next year. So yeah, that's it.
Hashtag arbitration.
Oh yeah.
So, anyways, that's the podcast. Big thanks to Rav for taking part in this.
No worries.
SYP creator Scott and I are gonna be recorded on Monday night too. So more hashtag content coming your way. And it's almost the end of March. Good Lord.
Yeah, man, fucking getting screwed. This is a time you get screwed by school. Then it's April, May, and then you just have that weird month of like, what the fuck do I do?
But yeah, not that I definitely don't think that every morning when I wake up. Thank you again to Rav. We'll be back again soon. Thank you very much for listening. Peace out.
Peace.